The video being posted up on social media is the issue. If someone would have sent her that video privately, she and I would have had one conversation about it, and it would have been.
This is Clifford Ty Harris. He was revered for a long time as the monarch of the South. All of a sudden, he discovered himself in the middle of an inferno that threatened to burn down everything he has ever built. It all files that were leaked, medical records and reports, private discussions, and even blurry audio recordings poured onto social media like gasoline on fire. The shocking reports that Shakina Anderson was pregnant, and the father wasn't some faceless, mysterious dude. No, the whispers pointed directly toward T himself. The internet plunged into meltdown. Hashtags like Shakina pregnant, Shucker DNA 4DI, and G Justice Cur 4 small burst across Twitter and TikTok. For fans who had stood by Tiny through years of rumors, this wasn't simply chatter. It was betrayal in its purest form, and people wanted answers. The first gut blow came when Tiny herself stepped into the spotlight. Tears pouring, voice wavering but with fire in her eyes. In front of flashing cameras, she said, "I want a DNA test. I deserve the truth. My family deserves the truth." That one statement transformed the controversy from rumor to reality. Suddenly, this wasn't simply about entertainment blogs or fan theories. This was a wife seeking receipts. The footage of Tiny breaking down, her body shaking, her hands holding tissues as she cried in public, became a symbol of sadness for women anywhere who had ever felt betrayed by a man they trusted. The video ain't actually the issue. The footage being thrown up on social media is the issue. If someone would have sent her that video privately, she and I would have had one talk about it, then it would have been over. Tiny wasn't only—
You said it. Let me ask you somebody who knows me for real, right? Who really knows me.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear.
Do you think I'm like from
wasn't only a reality star or singer. In that time, she became the face of every humiliated wife, every broken promise, every destroyed home. The internet ate it up, not because people wanted her grief, but because it was impossible to look away from the rawness of it all. Then came the receipts that made it impossible to spin this as merely gossip. Shah's alleged medical report hit the net, and the detail that rocked everyone was awful. The estimated conception date matched T.I.'s stay at an Atlanta hotel. One sentence verified what the murmurs had already suggested, and the industry froze. This wasn't speculation anymore. This was a paper trail. Journalists gasped. Influencers hurried to comment, and fans cried like they were watching the death of a dynasty. Tiny, unable to cope, apparently fainted during a family confrontation, while T's Instagram went completely dark. No posts, no captions, no tales. Silence. But silence in this case screamed louder than denial. And the world regarded it as a confession. And just when things appeared like they couldn't get any worse, a whistleblower come forward with alleged screenshots of Shah contacting a friend, saying that if the DNA test was public, T.I. would lose everything. His wife, his career, his empire? That leak turned the scandal into a ticking time bomb. Fans discussed endlessly online. Some labeled Shekinah a manipulator who ruined a home. Others perceived her as a victim who got caught in a hazardous love triangle. But one thing was clear. The Harris empire was disintegrating in real time, and no one could stop it. The culmination of this first act happened when the courtroom converted into the stage for one of the most public betrayals in hip-hop history. Paparazzi stormed the courthouse steps. Protesters held signs demanding justice for Tiny, when fans showed up like they were about to witness a heavyweight battle. Inside, the atmosphere was dense with tension. Tiny sat with her lawyers, Kleenex grasped in her hands, her face pale but determined.
They heard me say it. I said that. If I was on there, I said that.
Turn around, please. You did not.
Shekinah, you stopped them, and I said the same. You asked me, do you think I'm happier that you asked me the question and I answered it? So why would you sit there and say that?
Because I am happy.
But why would you sit there and say that I ain't say
Because
that?
you didn't.
I think she's happy. Yes, I did.
It wasn't loud and clear.
Tell me. Yeah? Tell me what's going on right there.
Determined. Shakina walked in next, guarded heavily, looked caught between guilt and disobedience. And finally T appeared. Once the immovable king, now hollow-eyed and cornered, waiting for judgment. When the judge announced the lawsuit, Tiny versus Clifford Harris and Shakina Anderson, DNA and betrayal, the whispers alone nearly rocked the walls. This wasn't just family turmoil anymore. It was betrayal written into legal history, and the entire globe was watching to see if the so-called King of the South would fall. The courtroom became a circus the instant the evidence dropped. Reporters scrawled feverishly, cameras clicked non-stop, several fans leaned forward like they were watching the climax of a drama series. Then the audio file hit the speakers, and it changed everything. The grainy clip, reportedly T's voice, murmured words that made the entire gallery gasp. "Don't worry, Shayna. If this comes out, I'll manage Tiny. Just believe me." The room froze. Tiny's body jolted as if she'd been struck, getting to her feet. Her voice cracked with pain. "You destroyed me. You wrecked our family." Seconds after, she sank into her daughter's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. The cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing an image that would travel the globe within minutes. The sad queen of a ruined empire betrayed by the man she helped build up. Outside the courthouse, Atlanta exploded like never before. Protesters screamed justice for Tiny and DNA doesn't lie, while others turned on Shekinah chanting snake. Police forced to push back crowds as emotions boiled over. News anchors termed it the worst betrayal in hip-hop history, and TikTok erupted with tearful fans publicizing their reactions. Memes mocked T.I. as a fake, while some characterized Tiny as a heroine emerging from ashes. Shekinah was caught in the crossfire, painted by some as a mastermind and by others as a pawn. But the real shock occurred when the DNA findings were ultimately disclosed. The clerk, terrified as he opened the envelope, announced the words that detonated like a nuclear bomb. Clifford Harris, known popularly as T.I., is the biological father of Shaw Anderson's child with 99.9% certainty. Gas turned to mayhem. Tiny scream plummeting to the ground. "Why, Clifford? Why would you do this to me? To us?" Her daughter sobbing beside her while Shekinah broke down too, yelling, "I never wanted this. He promised me everything." The courtroom fell into chaos. Tiny tossed a water bottle towards Shekinah, shouting, "You destroyed my life, my children's home. Don't you dare act like a victim." The judge's gavel banged in futile as fans inside yelled and reporters stampeded to obtain their scoops. By the time the news hit Twitter, it was trending worldwide. "Ine bombshell, too small broken in cancel T.I." Within hours, networks rolled non-stop coverage. Late-night hosts made the scandal into headlines, and hip-hop pundits dubbed it the most disgraceful fall of a rap legend. Even worse, a leaked clip leaked mere days after, proving T.I. supposedly laughing with buddies before the trial, gloating, "Tiny ain't going nowhere. She can cry, she can sue, but she'll always need me." Shekinah, guy, she's just another piece of the puzzle. The internet surged again, labeling him a narcissist, a manipulator, a king who ridiculed the very queen he betrayed. Ty's empire started gushing out overnight. His label gave a cool statement. "We are examining our partnership with Clifford Harris following recent disclosures. Sponsorships withdrew, significant transactions were terminated, and former friends separated themselves." Meanwhile, Tiny became the sad heroine of the entire saga. Her public remark broke hearts globally. "I never thought I'd see the day my family name would be dragged through this. But I will rise. I will fight. And I will make sure my children know the truth about the man they ruined our home." Her courage won sympathy and loyalty, making her the face of strength after betrayal. Fans tented outside her home with evidence of support, calling her a queen, rising from the ashes. Shekinah's universe nonetheless crumbled much harder. Death threats flooding her inbox. Protesters gathered outside her home, and her every move online was attacked with hate. In a teary Instagram live, she wailed, "I didn't destroy the family. He did. He told me he loved me. He told me he'd left Tiny, and now I'm the one paying the expense. I can't even walk outdoors without being dubbed a monster." But she cries did little to change the public's viewpoint. She was branded the other woman, the home record, the one who brought down the Harris empire. Whether she was actually a victim or a co-conspirator, the world had already made up its mind. And then came the final blow, the divorce filing. Tiny officially moved forward with ending her marriage, wanting not only full custody of her children, but also half of Ty's empire and damages for emotional trauma. The released materials described his behaviors as serial treachery, public humiliation, and devastating emotional damage. The paparazzi captured her exiting the courthouse in sunglasses, covering her puffy eyes, her children by her side. That image hit the main page of every major tabloid. Tiny concludes it everything. DNA bombshell ruins Harris family. By evening, the Harris empire was destroyed. Ty alone in his mansion, drowning in quiet and death threats. When Tiny was hauled up by the public as the queen who survived the storm. But the scandal didn't stop there. It kept unraveling like a nightmare with no ending. Rumors spread that T.I. had lost over $30 million in contracts. Whispers said Tiny was preparing a tell-all memoir to uncover every hidden treachery. Speculation developed that Shakina was preparing to leave Atlanta completely. A monarchy once centered on music, fame, and familial values was now nothing but broken dreams and bitterness. And the world watched every second of it unfold like the most controversial reality show ever broadcast. When the dust began to settle, it was evident this wasn't just another messy celebrity drama. This was a full-blown implosion of a dynasty. Ty was a revered ruler of the South, now sat alone in his mansion, bereft of the allegiance and power that had formerly Shekinah, however, faced the opposite. Isolated and reviled, she became one of the most dreaded names in the game. Protesters gathered outside her home day and night, chanting that she had destroyed a family. Online, her DMs filled with death threats and insults, making it nearly impossible for her to bare her face in public. She went live again in tears, crying, "He told me he loved me. He promised me he'd leave Tiny. And now I'm the one taking all the abuse." But the public wasn't buying it. To many, she wasn't a victim. She was the spark that burned down the house. Whether that was fair or not didn't matter anymore. Her reputation was scarred for life. Industry insiders muttered that she was planning to depart Atlanta totally, maybe even change her name to escape the storm that followed her everywhere she went. In one moment of weakness, she admitted, "I can't walk down the street without someone spitting at me or calling me a monster." And with that, her story faded from the spotlight, leaving behind only wreckage. Tiny, on the other hand, made her next move with precision. The divorce papers were only the start. She requested half of T's empire and custody of the kids, but she also prepared to go public in a way that would shake the industry even harder. A tell-all memoir. Rumors swirled that the book would reveal not merely T's treachery with Shekinah, but years of secrets, deceit, and infidelities that had been pushed under the rug. Fans buzzed with expectation, want to hear her side of the tale. Talk shows, podcasts, and blogs lined up to give her the platform, and every syllable she spoke turned into a headline. She became the tragic heroine turned victor, reclaiming her voice after years of silence. The more T struggled to stay quiet, the louder her story became, and it works. Tiny's narrative began to eclipse his, painting her as the true survived, but T remained stuck in the shadow of his own mistakes. Meanwhile, Ty faced the steepest fall from grace the business had seen in years. Reports stated he lost $30 million in contracts, endorsements, and deals. His label got chilly, his sponsorships disappeared, and streaming numbers began to plummet as fans turned their backs. Online, he was branded a narcissist, a manipulator, a man who wrecked his own house and career with irresponsible decisions. The leaked footage of him gloating about Tiny not leaving him reappeared again and again, played on loop like evidence of his hubris. Every time he tried to lay low, another rumor, another leak, another disclosure hauled him back into the spotlight he could no longer control. His stillness, which previously seemed like strategy, now looked like guilt. Alone in his mansion, his phone vibrating with threats, his empire gone, T become a phantom of the king he once was. But what makes this story even more unsettling is that it wasn't just a personal scandal, it became a cultural moment. People debated on discussion shows whether this was the worst betrayal in hip-hop history. Fans fought online on whether Tiny should take him back or leave him forever. Though the divorce papers made her decision apparent, even other celebs weighed in, some standing with Tiny, others keeping their distance from the mess. The Harris family, formerly admired for their music, their truth show, and their love story, had now become a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most gorgeous-looking civilizations can come apart if they're built on lying. Tiny's tears became symbolic of every betrayed woman. Shakina's demise reminded everyone that being the other woman never ends well, and T's collapse proved that arrogance and betrayal can demolish even the strongest legacies. By the end, Atlanta itself felt different. The city that once celebrated T as one of its kings now uttered his name with disdain. His crown was gone, his throne abandoned, and in its place was a broken dynasty. Tiny emerged as the tragic queen who endured treachery, her strength making her into a legend in her own right. Shekinah disappeared into darkness, paying the price of her choices. And T remained isolated, his empire stripped to nothing but memories of what once was. The DNA findings hadn't just disclosed paternity. They had revealed the truth, and ruined everything in sight. And as the camera zoomed in on Tiny's tear-drenched face one last time, one thing became evident. This wasn't just a controversy. It was betrayal at its purest form. And it created scars no one in this tale would ever recover from. And now, after seeing this entire drama develop, the question is straightforward. Can anything ever be rebuilt from this rubble? Or is the Harris dynasty truly finished for good? Because sometimes the truth doesn't merely set you free. It burns everything around you till there's nothing left to save. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and comment to stay locked in for the next chapter of drama, since this narrative is only getting darker.